In my opinion, there is one champion in all of Raid that has completely ruined PvE. And there's only one champion that can go along with this one that I'm speaking of, that can really make it do much of anything. Or at least that's what I thought up until recently, that I have really put some work in and made something happen. Now, of course, the champion I am talking about is Titus. Titus is absolutely broken. He's broken most PvE game modes, or at least the clan bosses, and I don't know, I'm tired of him. I think he is a bit much, and that could just be because, well, I'm missing Wixwell. I don't have Wixwell, which was clearly one of the biggest mistakes I've ever made in my time of playing Raid. So, with not having Wixwell and having Titus, because I had some friends running my account for me while I was gone, um, yeah, I mean, yeah, I just thought there was no point of even really using him until recently. I have put together, arguably, one of the best non-Wixwell Titus teams you can put together. And now, no, I am not pushing 15, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 million damage on this team. I am simply doing my best with what I have, and I do think that the cap on this team is very, very high. I just haven't tinkered around with the team enough to really make it perfect. Now, no, I don't have a Chimera version of this, but I do have a Hydra version of this, and let's go ahead and take a look at that. So, as you can see, we have Titus, Brogni, Ashnar, Mod, Emic, and Lamasu. So this team, as you can see, only has one buff extender, and that is really where the biggest issue with a non Wixwell Titus team comes in is just it makes it really, really hard to do any buff extension at all and actually make those shields last. Now, I will come out and say immediately, no, this team does not perfectly keep its buffs up. You do have to have some good RNG to start off the round, and really you have to keep some decent RNG throughout the entire thing. Now, there's not much you can really do about that, but we do our best and we make work with what we can. So looking at this team, obviously there is no Wixwell, but there is some really important people. One, Titus, of course, that's who we're here for. That's who's doing the damage. Number two is Wixwell, not Wixwell, Brogni. Brogni is doing all the shield growth, making Titus do a shit ton of damage. Then we have Emic resetting cooldowns, Lamasu putting out the block buffs, decrease speed, using her passive to decrease the target's accuracy and resistance, decrease attack. She's also putting out Hex. We'll get into the builds in a minute. But besides those four, we have Mod and we have Ashnar. Now, I will say there is plenty of people you can put in for almost anybody in this team. Besides, I would say Lamasu, Brogni, and Titus. Now, the people that really make this work for me are Mod and Ashnar. Emmett can be replaced by a number of people. Lamasu can be replaced, but I wouldn't really do that. Mod, there's so many people you can put in for Mod, it's not even funny. And then Ashnar is a little iffy, because you really have to cover a lot of areas with 1 to 2 champions that you can slot in, unless you have some champions I don't have. And of course, Mod is one that most people don't have. So again, we'll get to some people we can throw in instead of them. But let's go ahead and take a look at these builds, because there's some things that we need to point out that are needed to make this team work. And there's only really one way this team works, and it's with those builds. So first of all, this isn't the right build for Lamasu. A little scuffed. I've been gone for a long time, so pardon my mistakes here. So on Lamasu, we have her in Hex and Merciless. I don't think there's too much leeway with what you can do here. I will say Impulse would be much better than Merciless. which is something I'm personally going to be trying to change out. It's just what I've had for now. And like I said, there's plenty of things that we can do to make this team better. So I'll try and list those as we go. Now, if you don't use Lamasu in PvP, which I think would be a mistake, you can obviously run Cruelty on her, which would really help. But the build itself, we're shooting for decently high speed, decently high resistance, and accuracy. Now, she needs to have enough accuracy to always land her stuff so that the rest of your team can then land their stuff afterwards if you're struggling with either resistance or accuracy, to make sure that their buffs can't be stolen, or so they can land their debuffs. It's a very stat heavy team, I'd say, just lacking some of the things. We got to make sure that we are not getting any of our stuff stolen on much of anybody, mainly Titus, but it is good to keep it up on everybody. So yeah, I'd focus on speed, resistance, accuracy, try to make them a little tanky, 40 to 50k HP, around 3k defense is plenty. And then Hex set on Lamasu specifically is very, very important because she's really our main AoE champion, and Hex is how you get a lot of damage out of this team. Now the next person we're going to be looking at is going to be Brogni. Now my Brogni is on build right now. Yeah. Okay. So my Brogni, I have him in 5-star Cruelty. We have him in Zeal and Merciless, and these are his stats. Now, they're not the best stats in the game by any means, but he does have higher crit damage than Titus. He has some speed, nothing crazy. I would like to get it higher, but I don't know if any of you guys have built a Brogni recently, but he is very, very hard to get some stats on, specifically attack. Now, of course, I can add some here, maybe on some of these other pieces. I think I've pretty much min-maxed them, though, for the most part. So yeah, I mean, I'm just missing a little there. But yeah, we have a 4.9k attack, 219 speed, 369 crit damage, 360 resistance, and then just under 300 accuracy, giving him enough stats to do basically everything he needs to do. Making sure that keep the resistance on him can be really nice, making sure he's not getting provoked, especially if you don't have mod. Having a lot of resistance on Brogni helps out a ton. Now, when we look at his attack, it might not look like that much, but you do have to refer back to his base attack being under 800, which is pretty insane. So I'm pretty happy with what we've been able to pull out here. Just under 4.9 thousand. I have him in Cruelty. A really fun thing about Brogni is that his passive works with Cruelty. So every single time he does damage with this, he's also getting some Cruelty procs. So you can basically instantly max out any head that's doing an AoE hit on your team. Something I did forget, we'll go back over here. These are the masteries I'm currently running on her. There's a little bit of stuff you could change, but I would just leave it as is. Now, if we refer back to Brogni here, I don't even have to have his stuff maxed out, and that is on purpose. So we don't really want anything in this bottom row, and then neither of these really do anything for you either. And you might be thinking, why in the world would we not want lasting gifts? Well, to avoid some RNG within this run itself, we have to look at his A3, and you can see he places a shield for 2 turns. Now, a fun little, I guess, quirk or something with this team and with Raid itself is that when a champion, let's say your Titus, has a 3-turn shield buff, it cannot be replaced by anything under or equal to 3 turns. So when we throw it up, he has 3 turns, it's fine. Even if we had lasting gifts, it would be fine. However, if we had a 2-turn shield buff, it would get replaced by a lasting gifts shield, which would really, really suck because you lose all your damage progress that you were shield growing on that team, while on that Titus, and it just resets half your progress, which is really, really rough. And the other thing that really makes this important is how RNG heavy this run can be. If we look at Titus, which we'll look at a run in just a little bit, but on Titus in this team, there will be plenty, when I say plenty, I mean so many times, where his shields will probably be between 2 and 3 turns. If it goes to 2 turns and Emic uses his A2, we're fine. If it goes down to 3 turns, we are no longer fine. And I do believe I've left a little RNG in this by him having lasting gifts, which is a mistake, which is something, again, that I could do to help min-max this team. But that's just a little explanation for why we do not have it on Brogni. Now on to the next person, which I guess we were just talking about, Emic. Let's go ahead and pull Emic up. So Emic, another non-min-max build. This is just something I threw together. Definitely need to work on his, and you know, looking at all these is really making me think how much I need to fix up. But Emic, we have him in Merciless and Impulse. Realistically, you'd be better off with just 3 things of Impulse, 1 thing Reflex, 1 thing of Impulse. What really matters is those decrease cooldowns and the resistance on him, the speed on him, and a little bit of survivability is all that really matters. So yeah, there's nothing too special about this build. Like I said, this could be removed, which I'll worry about later. But yeah, dude, I will say if you get War Master on him, it might be able to help you just a little bit. But I mean, nobody's really going to be doing damage. So yeah, that is Emic. Next up is Mod. So Mod here, we have her in Reflex and Impulse. This is the best build for basically everybody. I will say that she's actually one of the ones where she's better off and Merciless compared to some of these other people, because she actually is attacking with both her A2 and her A1, which is really all you're going to be using all fight. So putting her in Merciless could be very, very beneficial. I left out Relics, but we'll worry about that in a little bit. We'll talk about some options and things we can put in there. But yeah, we're just looking at Reflex, Impulse, or Merciless, as I mentioned on her. Some HP, some defense. We want a decent amount of speed, resistance, and some accuracy can be very good, because on her A2, she can strip buffs off of people, especially if they rip some buffs off your team. You don't want Decay to go ahead, or Mischief, right, to go and spread all those out on your entire enemy team. The next one we have to look at is Ashnar, which is right here. So Ashnar is our shield champion. He's in shield and Merciless. He could be a good bit faster, but he has a crap ton of HP, a good amount of defense, an okay amount of speed. Now, I do think we could definitely swap out a lot of this HP, because really all that matters is that the shield set exists. It doesn't have to be a big shield set. I just happen to get a lot of HP on him. And I do think getting him a little faster would be better. But yeah, a lot of HP, a lot of defense, decent amount of speed. And then again, good resistance, good accuracy. Merciless is really, really solid. It's not the most important on him, because we are using the first form a lot on this champion, but the second form, I will say, this A2 and this A3 are completely game changing, and you do a lot of swapping between his forms on Ashnar, just because we need all of this stuff throughout the entire team, and we'll get more into that in just a minute. These are the masteries I have on him. You could go Giant Slayer, you could go War Master, you could go Helm Smasher, shoot, you could even go I don't know, Bulwark, or whatever you want to do. Realistically, we're either going to go Unshakable, Eagle Eye, Helm Smasher, or War Master. And then finally we have Titus, who has a 1-star soul. Titus is in Merciless and Zeal. He is at as low HP as I could get him. 6.6k attack, 196 speed, which could actually be a little slower. I think I would like him around 185-ish, but 196 isn't too bad. Crit rate doesn't matter. 365 crit damage, just under Brogni. We didn't want to go over. And then 388 resistance. We have him without a soul plugged in right now, which you might be wondering why. Well, when Titus has more HP, he does less damage, just kind of how he works. I kind of forget why, just how it is. The only time you want to slot in a soul for Titus is once you finally have a 3 or higher soul, because that defense is nice, that crit damage is incredibly important, the resistance and stuff is also super important. So once you finally get between a 3-star and a 6-star, I would either be going Heaven Cast from 3 to 5, and then 6-star Crushing Rend is by far the best option. If I could find it just to highlight it, there it is. And then here are the masteries I've gone with on him. He's always going to be at full HP, so you might as well grab that. You want to make sure to have Cycle of Violence. Stoked Fury is really good if you're running either Gerbtuck or Ashnar. And then we have Helm Smasher, because that's the best way for him to do damage. Now, on each champion, there are a number of solid things we could be running. We could be running... I'm talking about relics, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that. But Lammasu, if you want to, you could be running either a wand, or you could also be running one of these books right here, just to allow her to do some more turn meter boosting. On Brogni, the most ideal one is by far a Cat's Gaze, but I don't have an extra one I can put on him, so Malefic Talon isn't bad. And you can also go with a Coronet. Coronet can be pretty solid on him, but it does take a good bit to get this fully powered up, and I don't know if it really adds all that much over the course of a fight because of how the team works. I'm not too sure. You guys could test it. I will not be moving around my relics all that much. On Ashnar, you can either go Malefic Talon, or you could be going with one of these books. You could also be going in Cat's Gaze. It won't really do anything for you, but if you just want a little extra nuke out of him, I guess you could go with that. You don't gain much. You could also go with a Coronet, but realistically, the best options are either a Malefic Talon if you're wanting him to have more crit damage than your Titus. If not, I would be putting one of these on there, which I'm actually going to swap to right now because it is the best option. I was just using them for some other stuff, checking some ideas out. Now, the best thing for mod is, it can be a number of things, but I do believe that this Xuzar's totem is very solid for her, because whenever an ally receives a fear, provoke, whatever, she gets some turn meter boost, which can be very nice. Right now it's at 14%. This happens once per turn, so you get a little 14% boost the majority of the fight because you're often hitting a Torment head. That can be super nice and allow her to cycle more, because as you can tell, with her being the only buff extender, we need her moving as quickly as possible. The more turns she takes, the better. So a little boost for her can be super solid. Who are we missing? Emic, it doesn't matter. It really just doesn't matter what you have on him. And then Titus, a Cat's Gaze, is the only valid option. Ooh, I've been talking a whole lot for a good bit now. So let's get into the actual run itself. It's been a minute since I've been talking this much, this fast, for this long. I've always thought I need to slow down some of these things, but I never do because I always feel rushed. I don't know why. I'm trying to be professional or whatever, but I should really just stop, throw a little bit more personality into stuff. Anyways, starting out, we went an A2 from Lammasu. And this is specifically when we have the Head of Decay out, because we have to get a provoke out throughout some point in the early fight. Now, we have to use A2 on our guy Emic here. This allows us to go ahead and hit a Brogni A2 to start, just to start growing our shields a little bit. And then something that you can choose between here, which I haven't gotten to perfect at the start of this run quite yet, just because I haven't ran this rotation a bunch. We can either start with an A2 or an A3. If you're going A3, you often want to target either Mod or Ashnar. Now, when I do change some builds around, having Ashnar faster will make this better. But the proper setup that I've been used to is boosting her. This allows her to go ahead of Lammasu, A2. Lammasu then resets her. We cycle around a little bit. Yeah, we lose that. This is simply just an example. If Ashnar was any faster, we'd be hitting a little A3 here and then hitting an A2 on any other rotation that doesn't have decay to start. But with decay to start, I'll just hurry up and get this done faster, just because we do have to do things a little bit differently, which I'm not too big of a fan of. I do like the other start more, but here we are. So we always start with an A2 on, well, an A3 on Ashnar. We're going to go ahead and boost him, because this allows for a form swap. And we can get an A3 out there, meaning we get increased defense, we get that provoke out, we also get increased crit damage. And now we increase, and we are looking very solid, because now you can see we have a 4-turn, a 3-turn, 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 which is really, really solid. Now we're really just trying to get out the debuffs, spread them out. Of course, we want to get that hex on everybody, and that is where some of the slot-ins that we'll be talking about in a little bit will come out, because I don't have an actually super consistent AoE hex in this team. Yes, Lammasu does often get it out, but without Ashnar, it would not be consistent. So let's go ahead and kill ahead. And now we can start resetting everybody. And this is where a lot of the RNG comes in. Because as you can see, we got a decreased cooldown on Lammasu. We got one on her, so now we're back up to 3 without having to reset a bunch, which helps so much. Yeah, I mean, that's just fantastic. We can grow again, which that was a pretty low roll on the grow right there. Go ahead and reset her. Now we're up to 4, which means we are on a great pace right now. This is a very solid start. We didn't weak hit, which means we are doing even better. It doesn't really matter what you do there. If you do hit, I should have hit really. Yeah, I don't know why I didn't. It does matter. Don't listen to what I just said there. If we would have hit there, we would have had a chance of getting a merciless proc. And yeah, I mean, this is a very scuffed. This is a very scuffed run right here. Oh my. And we didn't even hit the right thing. Holy crap. All right, give me just a second, guys. I'll get this set up properly, come back, and we'll see an actual smack and everything. Get this run going a little bit more. I'll talk about some slot ins and stuff. I'll show a final bit of damage, and yeah. All right, there we go. We got a decent little start here. As you can see, the shields are much bigger this time on Titus. We have all the debuffs, including decreased defense, which sometimes can be a little bit difficult to get out there, but we go ahead and smack a little 66 mil. We didn't get unlucky with the game bugging out right there, which is really cool. And what I mean by that is that sometimes when you kill that first head, 2 heads will respawn, which doesn't make any sense to me. Maybe I'm just not all that smart when it comes to programming or something. I don't know. But based off of how the rest of the stuff in the game reads, that shouldn't be how it works. But it is. This time we had a little bit less luck when it comes to the actual when it comes to the RNG on Titus. However, we can go ahead and extend. And right there, I did make a mistake, and I do want to point that out for you guys, is that right there, I had a very good chance to go ahead and A3 onto Titus and guarantee myself a turn. Now I am risking not getting this turn on him, which is a massive turn. I mean, this is, yeah, see, there goes ahead. Which just really sucks, but it's okay. We can at least see a little bit of what a real smack would look like. Here we go, a little 91 mil. Nothing amazing. I mean, this is, I'm not trying to compare this to a Wixwell team. And honestly, I've never watched a Wixwell team. I don't know what a actual Wixwell team looks like when it's running. I just know that that isn't the best smack I've ever seen out of this team, and I can only assume it doesn't quite compare to what some of these Wixwell teams are getting this early on. And I could be wrong. Like I said, there's a very strong chance that I could be wrong about that, and I might be pretty close. But from what I can tell, it's not the most amazing start ever. If we are lucky here, we could go ahead and A3 with Titus to make this head a little bit less of an issue. And this is where some of the speeds come into play, because if I wasn't fast enough there, I would have missed that. But if I was too fast, we wouldn't have had a proper setup earlier on, so it can be a little finicky. And again, these are all things I'm working on to try and figure out what's best for the team. But hey, I'm doing my best here to figure something out. Because I'm also one of the sad souls out there that wasn't able to get the Wixwell Titus going. But I am trying to make sure that those who are like me get to enjoy Titus as well. Okay. Now, this isn't super important. I just want to get to extend here because I know that I wasn't going to get to smack with Titus there. And I also want to make sure that this head doesn't get its debuffs up, so we would need to put out some decreased accuracy. Let's go ahead, smack. Here we go, 43 mil on an alive head, pretty solid. We got 2 turns on our Ashnar. We got 1 turn on her. A little bit rough. We're calling it close here to actually get another big smack out there, because we need that out. Alright, so we can spread this. We're gonna lack a lot of our damage though. We might just have to miss out on this rotation, which is whatever. I mean, there's just gonna be there's so much RNG that you will miss some rotations, and it's okay. We learn, we get better results moving forward. Now, I'm not going to do a full run right now, as I'm still tinkering with the team, and I don't want to like try and lock anything in for this rotation. But I do want to show you guys one of my results with this team in the past that I was very, very happy with. And if you guys are interested in this video, if I see some really good feedback on this video, I will do more videos on this team and teams like it in the future to show you guys what you're capable of doing with something less than Wixwell, because I know Wixwell Titus can do stupid damage on its own. It is what it is. But I did mention that I wanted to talk about some of the other champions you can slot in. I'm going to show you what are the results that I got, then we'll get on to that. Alright, so this is one of the results that I was able to get with this team. Now this is before a lot of the min-maxing I was doing. This is before I changed Brogny's build to the Merciless build it is now. And I was still able to pull 3.1 billion. That is without a fully min-max team. And this just kind of shows what this team is capable of and how much further you could take it. At this point, I believe Titus had lost his buffs and stuff. We just got unlucky. I believe I easily could have pushed it to around 5 billion in this run. Just bad RNG, but I was very happy with what I was able to do so far in such an early version of the team. So yeah, that is just a single example of what this team can do. And now let's go ahead and take a look at some of the people you could slot in for some of the people I have. So the first person, and probably the person most people are looking at replacing, is Ashnar. Now Ashnar brings a lot of stuff. He brings HP burn, weaken, TM boost, healing, even more turn meter boost. He boosts our damage. He also brings increased defense, increased crit damage, provoke, and debuff spread. Now there also decreased defense. Now there's not a single other champion in the entirety of Raid that can do what he does. So you might be wondering, am I just screwed? No, you're not screwed. There just isn't too many ways to replace him. One of the things you can do is bring in a Hatter, because he does have this Hex and Weaken. He also has this, he has some chance of debuff spread, which isn't crazy, but it is there. And then he also has this increase duration of all buffs. Now this can actually replace both Ashnar and Mod, because you do get that weaken, and then you get the increased buff duration, and you get some turn meter boost. So Mad Hatter is by far the best to slot in for, I would say, both Ashnar and Mod. Now, if you have already gotten rid of Ashnar and you put in Hatter, now you're like, oh, okay, I don't have Mod. Who should I put in for her? You can either bring in another buff extender. There's plenty of great ones. I think one of the better ones for this team in specific would be Krisk, because we are getting that increase. Apologies, we do not get the increase defense, but we do get some. We get the provoke, get increased speed, ally protection, decreased speed. So there is some stuff that he does bring. I think he would be very solid because he is provoking, and that does help out a lot. You could also be bringing in somebody like Donnie here, who would give you some turn meter boost. He would also be decreasing your cooldowns. He's also a good slot in for Emic. But if we're looking for support style like Mod, I will say what she does bring is a torment counter. If you do not have a torment counter in any way, shape, or form, I would be looking at finding one of those. That can either be Veil, that could be something similar to her, like a Tuhanarok. Tuhanarok's actually super solid because you get that increased defense that you need for the team. And that's why I thought for a second Krisk would have been like super good. But you need to find a way to get increased defense at least. Increased crit damage is also super nice. Buff extensions. One person to bring up for sure is Lady Mikage, because you get increased crit damage and you get that increased duration of buffs. But in all of this, like I said, you need to find increased defense, increased crit damage. HP burn is nice, not needed, but if you don't have it, it can make it pretty rough to deal with the poison cloud head. If you are running Brogni, which I assume you are, you can use A1 to try and get it up on that head specifically before it puts out the poison cloud, but that's just more RNG. But yeah, I will say Mikage, Hatter, Donnie, those are all great champions. And I mean, if you specifically just want that debuff spread, you could always bring in Michelangelo. Outside of those champions, I mean, there's just so many you guys could look at. Just think, and if you can't really think of who you have, just go into here, include your Master Vault, your Reserve Vault, and just see what you have, you know? We want increased crit. We want increased defense and increased crit damage. Okay, Ashnar is the only one in the game doing it for me at least. But then that does leave us options. Like Mithrala. Mithrala could actually come in and be great. She puts out AoE Hex and increased defense. She does bring the shield, which you do need a shield champion. So bringing her in to go ahead and start the game out with an A3 could be great, actually. She's also countering Torment in a way. So yeah, Mithrala could be one of the best options for this team in general. She covers so many bases. That's a very solid call out. And I didn't even think about her, but that's why we have this as an option. Debuffs. We want Weaken. Of course, champions with decreased defense weaken can be pretty cool, but we do like things that give some more options. Countess Lix, if her cooldowns were any better, she'd be amazing, but she's still solid. Bringing the cooldown decrease, you can put her in a hex set, decrease speed and stuff, so she can be pretty cool. But yeah, guys, this is just what I would be doing to check. A really free-to-play option is Tarshan. I mean, fantastic, really. We get the provoke off of him, kind of. It's not super great, but it is there. We get increased defense, we get turn meter boost, and we get the weaken. So yeah, like I said, just take a look at what you have. Look at the different things that you need. If you don't have hex or whatever it may be, put it in there. And if you're not too familiar with this, you can go to other effects, positive effects, and you can go down to increase buff duration, and this will just show you what you have, what your options are. And for me, I don't have many options, so yeah, I mean, they're there. Feel free to take a look at what you have and make a good assessment based off of that. Oh, that's a whole lot of talking. Anyways, guys, if you have not already, you can join my Discord through the link in the description down below. There you can find a great community of people that are more than happy to help you in raid. And with me coming back to content creation, I will be more active in there than ever. I really thank you guys for watching this video. If you need any account help in raid, I'm also starting up my account takeovers again. I'll be doing videos and stuff on that very soon. If you don't know what an account takeover is, I get on your account, I fix the stuff up. It's usually a paid service, but I will be doing some free ones coming up, just to put out some more videos for you guys. Anyways, thank you all. See you on the next one. Peace out, everybody.